Hey guys, welcome back. You are now equipped with some mending knowledge. Now it's time to do our first project. We're going to focus on updating something old and breathing some life back into it. So you can go ahead and find something in your closet or maybe from a thrift store that you would love to wear, but it needs a little bit of help. For example, I have this lovely vintage dress, but the sleeves unfortunately have holes in them. So I'm going to just remove them and bring it back to life in a new dress without any sleeves. You can go ahead and maybe do the same thing with a dress whose sleeves need updating or who has holes, or find something else you like. For this project, we are going to focus on a new technique by using bias tape to finish a seam. So go ahead and either follow along with me or find your own piece of clothing, and let's get started. So our first order of business is removing the sleeves. We don't want those holes in them anymore, and this fabric is very fragile just because it's so old. So we're going to be very careful as we work with it. And I'm just using a seam ripper to take those sleeves out all the way around. The sleeves are now removed. I very delicately removed them with the seam ripper. So now we have a sleeveless dress. I just have to apply the bias tape around each sleeve to finish it. So here's how we're going to do that. You're going to want to use enough bias tape to cover the opening. So I'm just going to double this and always give yourself some extra just in case. Going to cut that off. And here's how we apply it. You're going to visualize your opening, and then you want to work with the fabric face up, and you're going to apply your bias tape. We'll start from the very bottom seam, and we're going to pin it in place. You will open up your bias tape and notice a small crease along the inside. You want to place that 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch, depending on your seam allowance, away from the edge of the opening, and you're going to pin that in place all the way around. Okay, we have now hemmed the bias tape all the way around both sleeves. I'm going to trim off the extra and just leaving about 1 inch overlapping. Next thing we're going to want to do is bring that tape into our machine. I'm going to remove the front compartment so I have a small part of the machine to fit this over, and I'm just going to snuggle that right in. There we go. And I always like to start my stitching where the fabric meets so that you get the bulk down there. I've got everything in my machine. I'm ready to sew. I'm going to put my presser foot down and remove pins as I go. I have set my dowels to 2.5 stitch length, a straight stitch, and a stitch width of 0. And we're just going to attach that bias tape all the way around. So I've now sewed both of my bias tapes onto the sleeve on the right side. I used a white stitch because my fabric that you see is white, and that's what's going to show. You don't worry about the bias tape. It's going to be hidden. So our next step is ironing it under and pinning it in place so that we can hand stitch it shut. So what I'm going to do is take it to my iron and fold over all of my tape so that you can't see it. Just going to give it a quick iron. And we pin it in place so that hand sewing is a bit easier. And we work our way all the way around so it has a nice crisp edge to work on. Our sleeve is now pinned in place. The bias tape is now on the inside. You can't see it from the outside. Now we just have to hand sew it. I'm bringing my needle through the fold in the bias tape here, and I pull it tight. Then I grab just a pinch of the fabric beneath it, just enough so it won't show on the other side. And then we just keep going all the way around until we've reached our end. and then we knot it and continue on the other side. Whew, all that hand sewing sure took some time, but now we have a lovely sleeveless dress worn by my beautiful friend Stephanie. And now you have the skill sets necessary to breathe life back into your old garments. I really hope it goes well for you. I hope you're learning a lot. We've got more content coming your way, all about sewing for the family. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and I will see you in our next video. I like to say, every fashion icon is only as good as their tailor. And that's because even if you have the nicest suit in the world, if it doesn't fit right, it's not going to look right. So I'd like to teach you a few things about measurement and getting the right fit so that you can be your own personal tailor and basically solve all your basic tailor needs at home.